About a week away now from the NBA trade deadline, and we've seen what the Raptors have accomplished this season, despite the fact that they are missing some real key elements of their team. Now we're well beyond the halfway point, and now we're in a position where, we could really give a good go at things in the playoffs. And if we actually are serious about doing that, and that is where the front office want to go with the rest of this season, it would be a disservice to leave the team as is. So let's go through what needs to get done for the Raptors from a front office perspective before that deadline, because this team still does need help. I don't want the front office to look at 29-19 right at the time I'm doing this stream. They're the 4th seed in the Eastern Conference. I don't want the front office to look at that and think, we're fine. We're good as is. This is a team that has been, I think has been greater than the sum of its parts this season, but still has weaknesses that are exploitable for a 7-game playoff series. In order to be more competitive for the playoffs, some action needs to happen. And look, at this point, we got to be trying to get into the playoffs. We got to be trying to make ourselves competitive for that playoff run, I think. It doesn't necessarily mean breaking the bank and losing a ton of assets, but some form of action needs to happen from the front office. So let's go through the 3 things that could be addressed by the front office here. I think, first of all, the name we were just talking about here, the name that everyone's talking about right now is Giannis. Is a superstar trade a potential for the Raptors to accomplish before that trade deadline? They have enough to get a Giannis trade done. I still think that, again, it's less than a 50% chance that Giannis gets traded here. I think it's more likely it happens in the offseason. But the Raptors have looked into Sabonis. The Raptors have looked into Giannis, Anthony Davis, other names potentially. A superstar trade is definitely something the Raptors could get done. Obviously, if there's a good trade out there to get one of them, you go for it. But I still consider it to be decently unlikely, quite unlikely, that the Raptors pull off a trade of that large of a magnitude. Just a lot of complicated factors that I just don't think all of that is going to line up and go their way in order for a trade like that to materialize. So, assuming now there is no superstar trade, what are the other moves that need to happen for the Raptors? I think the most important thing that needs to be addressed, we cannot go through the rest of the season without additional size in the big position. We've done a really terrific job. Do not forget this. Do not let it just slip past without acknowledging. It is remarkable what the Raptors have accomplished without Jakob Poeltl for most of the season. When he has played, he hasn't been healthy and hasn't played well. That is the only listed center on their roster here. Mamu can play as a center, absolutely. Scotty Barnes has done some small ball 5, as has Colin Murray-Boyles. But to not have a traditional 6'11", 7-footer for this much of the season and to still be this much of a force in the Eastern Conference, it is extraordinarily impressive. Extraordinarily impressive. But what if we could be this good of a team and have that sort of depth in that roster spot? Because all I'm hearing is bad news about Jakob Poeltl. I haven't gotten one single sliver of positive news about Jakob Poeltl's back since he's been out since December. There hasn't been a sliver of starting to feel better, it's getting better. All it has been is this is bad. He was supposed to be back here, but he's not back yet. At least he's starting to do some non-contact stuff, but now there's worry it could be a chronic back issue that just won't go away. It's all bad news right now. What if you don't have Jakob Poeltl healthy at all this season? You're doing this team this is a talented team. You're doing this team a disservice not bringing in size. I'm not saying it has to be a Sabonis or an Anthony Davis. It could be the guy I mentioned in the previous stream, Goga Bitadze. It could be even a lower level player like Brook Lopez or Kevon Looney. That's not a game changer, but it helps. When you're playing against a 7-footer, you just don't have a body to throw on them. It could be another high-tier name like Daron Sharp, who I think it's a bit of a stretch for Brooklyn to want to trade him, but okay, let's maybe think, is that something if that could happen? Something here for the center depth. Something to help this team out and just alleviate some of the stress in that position. Mo Bamba is, okay, bring some size. I think we can do better than that. I don't think that's enough. We should be doing better than that, evidently. Like the fact that they waived him and haven't brought him back. I think that's a mandatory. This needs to be addressed. You need to be able to do something. Eves Missy, name in the brought up in the chat there. Smooth Brown Man puts it in the chat. For sure. Something like that for this team. Mandatory. Now, if you can get that done and you still got room to do something else, what is next? Again, I'm not looking at these home run trades. I'm just looking at, could the Raptors just bring in some additional shooting? Could the Raptors bring in some additional shooting? Because up until the West Coast road trip, where the Raptors shot much better from three, they were the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA as far as three-point percentage is concerned. Right now, they are the fifth worst three-point shooting team in the NBA, only ahead of Portland, Orlando, New Orleans, and Indiana. Indiana and New Orleans suck. Orlando has been just known for the past couple years to have horrific spacing. Portland, it's a little weird. I mean, I guess we don't have a ton of it, but that's a little bit weird. Hey, we're not in very good company here. Like Dallas, Brooklyn, Memphis ahead of us. All not so great teams. I don't think we need to be one of the best, obviously, because we're still pretty good despite this. But let's get ourselves into the middle of the pack. Let's give ourselves a little bit more shooting. Let's give our top tier guys a little bit more floor space to kind of do their thing. That is what I would be looking to do here. I don't have as concrete of examples of like what we could do there. It's complicated. It's tough. It is tough to get shooting. Every team needs it. Every team is looking for it. If you've already got it, you're pretty reluctant to get rid of it. So tough position for the Raptors to address there. I will concede. But if you can, but mandatory, like I said, is to get that big man trade done. That is you cannot please do not put this team through the rest of the season and a possible playoff series without having that addressed. You cannot trust the health of Jakob Poeltl. It'd be excellent to get him back and healthy. It's looking more and more every day like you're not going to be able to do that, at least for this season, maybe even further than that. So bring in somebody that's going to help this position. I think there are teams willing to part with players who fill that role, and I think the Raptors can get some of those players without giving away way too much in the form of a trade. I talked about it last stream. Goga Bitadze is a name I'd look at there as somebody that can help out. The chat loves to bring up Day'Ron Sharpe, who I don't think Brooklyn would want to trade, but like there are names out there that you could hunt and you could target. I am quite confident that the Raptors are not like done business-wise. They are going to do something. They are typically an active team around the trade deadline. Last year was bringing in Brandon Ingram. Previously, they've brought in, unfortunately, Thad Young at the deadline. Jakob Poeltl previously at the deadline. They are typically active around the deadline. Something needs to happen, but something needs to be done for at least the center depth, and also, if you can, let's give this team some more floor space. Let's get a trade done there as well.